Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Welcome to the King and I Life podcast. Of course, once again, you are hosted by myself, Soul Touch the Poet, and my brother in this house.
Truly yours, son. So Lex, that's what's up.
Yes. Did I cut you off?
No,
Oh.
no, I'm here.
Like we always say, follow us on whatever podcast platform that you subscribe to. See if we can run it down. Let me know if I missed something. We
All
got
right.
Facebook, we got Instagram, we got YouTube, we got TikTok, we got LinkedIn. What am I forgetting?
We got Twitter.
Twitter.
We also have Patreon.
Oh yeah, Patreon too.
And if you guys feel giving, you can hit us up on what was that?
You talking about the Cash App?
Yes, sir.
If you want to
That's it.
support the show,
And we appreciate it if you do.
yes, we do. Always appreciate it. But yeah, hit us up on whatever all the social media platforms. Like, subscribe, and share. That we love your comments. Definitely comment to help the algorithm grow. Put us out there because right now we are in 26 countries
Yes,
worldwide.
indeed. 26. And we appreciate every single listener. Thank y'all.
Every little one. Like, thank you. But we gonna keep growing and growing and growing. Hey, we definitely got some new stuff coming. We got
Yep.
logos in the mix. We got to get
Working
our
on it.
merch
Working on
game
it.
up. You know what? I was looking for my damn shirt, and I don't know why I keep misplacing my shirt. So I went to the old school joint.
For sure. The original.
Yeah, man. I don't know how or where I'll be putting that shirt, but I always find it later.
For sure. But we got some big news. We're gonna go ahead and break it off for y'all today.
Yes.
I am extra excited about this. So, King, if you would, sir, please break it off for
Wait, what am I breaking off?
Amazon.
Oh, yeah. Look, I had no idea that you can search for the podcast on Amazon and listen to it in Audible. Audible, where you listen to audio books. I don't look, man. That's another accomplishment that just proves that our hard work is paying off.
Yes, indeed.
And all of you out there who have aspirations to start a podcast, jump out there and do it. Jump out there and do it. Hey, if you want to come on and rap with us just to get your feet wet, hit us up at that favorite place, King and I 369 at gmail.com.
Yes, that's it.
If you want to come on the show, be the guest, you got topics you want to suggest to us, hit us up at that email address again. Now, if you want to join in the topics that we discuss, let's just say you don't want to come on live. You don't want to show your face or whatever. You can always call or text your name to that number right there, and we will bring you in so that you can say what whatever you want to say. Because sometimes typing can be a little too much, and you really can't convey what you want to say through text message or whatever the case may be. So, especially for tonight's conversation. So Lex, I'm gonna let you go ahead and bring the people in.
Yes. So, this topic, we're going to let you know this is just a conversation amongst friends. Neither myself, I, or King, or Sun Soul X, or Soul Toucher the Poet, we are not experts whatsoever. Okay? This is our disclaimer. Again, this is just a conversation that we are having amongst friends. So, anyway, if you look at the screen, you can clearly see the disclaimer. So,
Yes. The thing about that is we all have different perspectives, we all have different experiences, and everybody has something that they can bring to the table that maybe it'll help somebody else. So, the thing about this conversation is we're not coming at you like this is our job. We have had our own ups and downs, and just like the average person out there. And this conversation is just really to let everyone know that we're human, just like y'all. And you know, this is our safe space to have this conversation, and we definitely welcome y'all to join in the conversation with us. We probably share our experiences with dealing with certain things. So that
Definitely.
disclaimer is there, just for y'all to, you know, just to let y'all know where we coming from.
Exactly. So, with that being said, the stigma of mental health today. For a long time in many communities, the topic of mental health has been misunderstood, misdiagnosed, a stigma or something that could be prayed away. Over the past several years, however, there has been a big focus on the importance of mental health and impact on every aspect of life. Additionally, social media has seemingly played a significant role in how it affects the youth. For some of the stigmas that prevent people from speaking out, one being fear of retaliation or ridicule in the workplace.
Yeah, let's sit on that for a minute.
All right.
There are a lot of stigmas out there. Fear of retaliation and ridicule in the workplace. That is a real thing out there. Especially for men. I can't speak from a woman's perspective. I can only speak from a man's perspective. And for men, especially if you're in an environment that is uh, majority men, you definitely don't want to come off weak. You know, because everybody cracks a joke. Sometimes it's in fun. Sometimes people just don't know, and sometimes it's just blatant ignorance.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, one thing that I've learned and experienced through life is that um, all men, I know we know everybody, but all men,
Right.
we have our moments. And oftentimes, we could be in a group of men, we see one man down, don't know what he's going through, whatever. And we sit there laughing and joking and hee hee ha ha. And then, we step to the side or something, whatever the case may be. And, you know, watching that man jog something in our minds that we've been through before. And, we are forced to feel empathy for that person, or we feel sympathetic for ourselves towards ourselves because we sat there and joked somebody who's going through something, and we've probably been going through something similar.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, again, in our communities, we feel like we all know someone or are related to someone who has mental issues. And again, for whatever reason, sometimes we may laugh at the things that they do. Um, and again, we're not pointing anyone, in particular out, but there are certain situations where people do things and you're like, man, why'd you do that?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, not bashing anyone, but the truth of the matter is there are a lot of people, within our communities that have these mental situations.
Right.
I can speak from my personal experience that I have certain members of my family who have dealt with uh, mental stigmas and traumas and things along that line.
Right.
So I definitely can relate and have empathy for anyone who's struggling with those issues right now. But I think that the major thing is as men though it's kind of like you want to help your brother, but you realize at some point you can only do so much.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be more personal. I have a close relative or had a close relative who, was in and out of mental hospitals. And just watching him go through those situations, man, it played a significant role in my life of,
Hmm.
trying to make sure that I keep myself mentally healthy. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, anything like that, it's like watching someone else's life in a movie form
Hmm.
and doing your best to make sure you don't go that way.
Yeah.
And again, your heart goes out to anyone who's going through that type of trauma or drama or however you want to put it.
Hmm.
So again, I just think that we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
If we don't talk about it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. I can honestly say, like, I had one experience. It was like, okay, so when we're talking about this, people automatically think the most drastic or the most worst situations that
Right,
someone can go through. But there are many situations that are mild that, you know, that person is going through, it's mild, but they might think it's catastrophic.
right.
And, a person on the outside could think it's catastrophic and it's actually mild. Um, I can give an experience that I had. It was probably around, I want to say 95, 96, around that time frame. I was working at the Gap warehouse, right? And and this lady was in there and she was like, I would say a heavy drug user or abuser.
Hmm.
Um, and me looking at her operate, like, it literally made me break down in tears at work, like in the open. And people's like, "Yo, you good? You good?" And I'm just like, "Nah." I'm looking at this lady, and it's like I just had this flash of um just a down feeling because watching her, it just broke me inside because of things and people I've seen, abuse drugs. And that's one of those situations where it's like I broke down in public that episode.
Right.
And that was also another situation that made me say inside, I would never, ever, 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 no matter what I'm going through, I don't care how hard times are, how bad they are, I will never, ever, ever use or abuse drugs.
Yeah, and the sad part about it is people who do have mental issues who can't afford the correct um, prescribed drugs. I put it to you like that.
Hmm.
So they feel like, I'm here in the streets. Let me get what I can afford.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, the things that they can afford actually do more harm than good.
hmm,
So
yeah,
it goes down to each individual. They want to feel a release or um, some type of release from the mental pain or
yeah,
issues that they're going through.
yeah.
So again, they turn to these street drugs because that's the only thing that's available to them, and that's the sad part about it.
But that's the only thing that they think is available to them.
Right.
Um, but that goes on to other things that we'll probably discuss later. So
Correct.
yeah, so getting back to the talking points at hand. When it comes to speaking out, fear retaliation in the workplace, um, HIPAA laws protect workers' health information. Mental health questions cannot be asked. Yeah, they can't ask you specific things, but people who are not aware of that, people with limited experience and education in those type of environments, you know they feel like they might be asked those questions, so they probably won't apply for certain jobs. um, they feel like if like for instance with me, I have two security clearances, and I do know of a lot of people who've had, like prior military or whatever the case may be,
Hmm.
on that. on that SF-86, for those who know the security clearance application, they ask specific questions. That form has been revised over the past, I want to say, 10 years, to where a lot of those specific questions dealing with mental health are not on there anymore, or they're worded in a way that um, is not too intrusive,
Right.
because that question's on there and people be like, damn, I got to tell this joker that I was seeing a therapist for this, or I seen a therapist for that, and they might judge me for this and judge me for that, and I might not get the job for this, not but get the job for that. And it's like, that stigma part is pretty much gone, because it for a while, people with PTSD, you know they either that would be a deal breaker for them getting a job or not. But I know people with PTSD who I've worked side by side with. So when it comes to in the workplace, that stigma is kind of going away.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing to have that protection there. Again, for people's personal protection. That is solely their business. I get it. Um, Another thing I will add to that though is you have to have that. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Hmm.
don't want your job that far into your personal life. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that wall or that protection, I think is great. I honestly think that they should add some more, and there are some of them they could twerk a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, they can. But with specific certain jobs though, um, depending on how high up you go, especially in government work, that question has to be asked,
Right.
because you definitely don't want a person who has experienced certain mental traumas or whatever in highly secure positions and stuff like that, where
Yeah.
they can
Definitely.
compromise themselves, other people around them, the agency, or the government overall.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. You want to make sure that the person next to you is stable to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But with that being said, the development of behavioral interview questions allows specific worded questions to be used to assert a certain responses to questions based on career events, situations, or circumstances to um, elate a response or reaction.
Have you ever taken one of those? I can't remember the name of the test, but it's a test that, oh God, it's a test that it gauges your. It's a psych test, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
and it asks the repetitive questions over and over and over again, but they'll word them different each time, because they ask the question like three or four times and they're worded different. Oh, there it is. Thanks, Sabrina. Myers Briggs test. Um, for me, I've had to take that test so many times. It's irritating, and it's purposely formatted the way it is in order to see how irritated you get.
Right.
Um, that's just the average man's way of explaining it. Um, Actually, I also watched a YouTube video, because there's more than one out there. Um, but yeah, it'll ask you, was there a time that you got mad at someone you love? And then it'll ask you several different questions, and then it'll say, did someone you love ever make you mad? And then you like, didn't I just answer the damn question? And then you'd be like, all right, whatever, I'm tripping. And then you
Yeah.
answer some more questions. You're like, wait, didn't I just see this question too? And if you don't know the game, it's gonna piss you off. But I think they're becoming obsolete, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I think I saw a thing on Netflix about them too.
Yeah, it's crazy because I believe I took one of those tests one time, And it was funny. I never did get the job.
Mm-hmm.
My interview went well, but I didn't get the job. And I remember thinking, this test is kind of funny. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for real, it was kind of funny to me. I didn't take the question so seriously. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, be honest with you, I kind of ran through that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to get out there, man. I
It's
already
like,
did the
God damn,
damn
it's
interview,
100 of
man.
these questions. Like,
Okay, I'm like, shit,
oh,
I got shit to do.
about to
But
ask me questions, man.
anyway, I just found it, if anything, funny
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, why are you asking me these type of questions? These are really personal questions. But yeah, I'm glad that they're on their way out. But whatever the case is, they are out there.
Yeah, they're out there. Um, yeah. So when mental health information is willingly divulged by the employee worker, this becomes a double-edged sword. You are no longer protected by HIPAA laws to an extent. Um, the thing about that, you know, you work somewhere, you get comfortable, you start talking about this, you start talking about that, and then you start talking about dark stuff, stuff that you've been through, stuff that that you hold close to the vest. The thing about that, depending on where you work and the people that you work around, and if you're not in the clique or if you knew, or it's so many factors into that. Whereas, hey, if you put it out there, just like social media, if you put it out there, it's out there.
Right.
And you know, to a degree, you're not protected. I mean, they can't go prying into this, that, and the other, because that would be, hey, you violating right now. But just keep in mind that, if you've been through something that was maybe traumatic to you, or that you're not sure that it can affect you negatively, I would say don't put it out there, unless you are at a place with these people or this organization or whatever, where you know it's really like a cohesive family unit.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, let's just be honest. When it comes down to some employers, um, there are, like you said, there are certain cliques, there are certain um, organizations within the organizations.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's a bit unfair, but it does happen.
yeah.
Um, I remember I had this one job where, um, me personally, it was a high ranking job,
Hmm.
but I didn't exactly fit into the good old boys club, as they say. So I feel like they made things a little bit more difficult for me in that position than what they did for everyone in the good old boys club.
Right.
But the mental struggle of trying to maintain that position and do
Hmm.
your job the best way you know how, and protect yourself the best way you can. Again, that whole aspect, mentally messes with people, and
Yeah.
I think that certain people can handle it and certain people can't. But the negativity that comes along with trying to maintain your position and then
Hmm.
fend off all the other negative BS you have to deal with, man, it's crazy to me.
It is crazy, and you're right. A lot of people can't deal with that because you might be new, or you might be of a different background, different culture, whatever the case may be. And if you're not a strong, inherently strong person, or if you're not used to that type of environment, the mental anguish that you can encounter dealing with that, it can drive you into mental and emotional debt. And it can have you in a place where it's just not healthy for you overall, and then
Right.
that adds the stress to you, and then the stress is eating you up, so you got this whole barrier of uh mental barrage coming at you to where it's just like, what are you going to do? And unfortunately, some people commit suicide from that. Um,
They
and
do.
it's unfortunate, but I think if people are more mindful of that type of stuff, then I don't know, maybe it will it'll ease the tension off that other person, but then also that other person has to also be a strong-willed and strong-minded individual.
Yeah. I had a coworker. I remember the guy had his job down to the T. I
Hmm.
mean, like knew it in and out. But again, because he wasn't a part of the established culture within the company, they made things so difficult for this man that he actually ended up uh, he left the company, but he did it the smart way. He went to school, got a specific trade that he was interested in, and once he reached his goal of getting the proper paperwork that he was after, he came in and he quit. And he
Mm.
didn't do it in, let me give you 2 weeks. He was like, let me give you 2 days.
Oh wow.
So the crazy part about it is he was a key player or a key worker in a certain position. So when he left them flat on their damn face. And
Oh
I'm like,
wow.
I was so happy for him because I'm like, I get it.
Right.
Because they're playing these mental damn games with this man. And the
Hmm.
only thing he wants to do is come in and support his family.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's crazy. That
Yeah.
is real crazy. Crazy.
So when mental health information is willingly divulged by the employee slash
No, that's
employer.
we just did that.
Okay. Defamation of character, slander, or hostile work environment could become factors. I guess we kind of hit on that one.
Yeah, we did. But I mean, shoot, you know, and this is going to lead into another talking point that we're going to jump into.
Right.
Um, when you again with the clicks and you treat specific people a certain way or they feel left out or something like that, especially with the defamation of character, the slander, the hostile work environment, that triggers something in people. You don't know what a person's been through. You don't know what they're going through. You don't, you just don't know what's going on. You don't know what their threshold is. So if you got a workplace that's full of jokey people, and this person might not be in the mood to joke that day, or this person is just not that type of person that's jokey, that person might lose their cool one day.
Yeah.
And you just don't know what will happen. And then at the same time, you just you got to be mindful of how you treat people, and what you're saying and what you're doing, because you know uh defamation of character can trigger something in a lot of people. And I can almost assume that from our culture, um in the workplace, don't matter, it could be a multicultural workplace or not,
Hmm.
um defamation of character can get you hurt in some places, because some of our people are just overly sensitive when it comes to certain things. And it's like you can't say something to somebody and they'll just go off on you, and it's like, yo dude, I was just joking. It's like, nah, don't play with me like that. And it's like, what does that mean though? What does don't play with me like that mean? We can sit back and laugh at it because sometimes
Right.
it's funny. But when a joker is be like, yo, don't play with me like that, don't play like that, you don't know what that person has been through. So when you sitting there, yo, that joker stink when he coming to work. Yo, he this, he that. Look, he always eating goddamn bread with sugar and butter on it, and he ain't got no food. You don't know. You just don't know.
You don't. And I'm laughing, because I've seen situations where, coworkers of mine, they'll be playing with each other back and forth.
Mm.
Everything's good until one day, one of them will come in and you don't know what's going on in their personal life.
You
But,
really don't.
the other person is unaware of, where this person's mental state is. So they thinking, we still laughing, we joking. And the
Hmm.
next thing that coworker could say something to set off the other one,
Yep.
and it could be something so minute or small, and you're like, whoa, what is going on here? You could say
Yeah.
something as innocent as, yeah, but that's not what your girlfriend said, or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
But you guys were joking, all along, with those type of jokes. But on this particular day, that was the wrong
Mm.
remark to say.
Right.
So I've
Right.
seen where people have dang near gone to blows over, an innocent,
Joke.
jokey joke.
Hmm.
But because on that day, that person wasn't in that mind state, all hell broke loose. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um. So then all of that we just talked about can culminate into legal implications, lawsuits may ensue as well. And then you have to factor in the mental aspect of that, because let's say you are, let's say this person is labeled as the victim of all of this stuff. You know, they got to deal with the mental aspect of what they're going on at work. Then they got to deal with the mental aspect of going home, taking that home. Then they
right.
got to think of, well, I have a good case to push legally. Then you got to look at the mental aspect of that. Um, you never know what that'll drive that person to do. That drive that person to drinking, drugs, uh, physical, mental abuse at home that they dish out to their family,
Yep.
reckless behavior, all types, um, all the way up to suicide. Then you have to look at, now it's going to affect the offender or offenders of that. That might have them acting out even more, or it may drag them down mentally and emotionally. Then their performance at work is suffering. Their behavior at home or in the streets is taking a toll. And then also you have to look at, HR and everybody else that has to get involved with that, in the mental aspect that they put it. Some people, when they go through these type of situations, um, they're groomed, for lack of a better term, for to deal with these type of situations. But you never know the mental aspect that it takes on these people. Let's just say you're the HR person who has to deal with this, and the boss of the company is coming down on you. You better get this right. You better get this right. Now that's pressure on you, all because they want to, they doing what they're doing out there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen situations where a male and a female joking all along, everything's good, and then one particular day, uh, the male made a gesture towards the female, and she took it the wrong way.
Hmm.
Next thing you know, HR.
Man.
She hauled ass to HR. So next thing you know, HR is coming down, and the plant manager is coming down, and it's like,
Mm.
what? Whoa!
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
that goes back down to, he didn't know what her mental state was that day, and he caught
Hmm.
her at the wrong time.
Right.
So something as innocent as a gesture has now put him in a position where you could lose your job, you could be sued. I mean,
Hmm.
the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
So um, I'm just the type. I don't play when I'm at work. I'll laugh, I'll joke, but I'm not finna put my hands on you, and you ain't finna put your hands on me.
Mm.
We're not finna do that. We ain't finna do no mama jokes. We ain't finna do no wife or sister or kids. We ain't joking like that. We're not playing like that. We can talk all day long about a particular subject, but when it comes to taking personal shots, I don't do that, because again, I've learned through personal experience, just because we're joking on this day That
Don't
don't
mean we
mean
joking on the next day.
exactly. So
You might trigger my mental illness, boy. You don't want that part.
exactly. And these people nowadays, it's like you can say the least little thing, and the next thing you getting that call from HR saying, "Hey, did you say this?"
Right.
And it's could have been the most innocent thing in the world, but somebody was offended by it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I didn't mean it that way. Or you should have known better. And just like, wait, okay. You just don't know what to say.
yeah, yeah. So again, that comes back down to mental state. Like
Yeah.
everybody is not stable on certain days, or they're
Yeah.
just not forward on certain days. I put it to you like
Yeah.
that.
Ain't for it on certain days. So before we move on, I did put out a survey before, a couple days ago when we first scheduled this live stream for people to, submit their, input for the show,
Hmm.
and we got a we got a response from Sabrina. Um, she said it was okay to mention her name, um, and one of the question was, can you describe a situation where you felt your mental health was at risk? And I know a lot of people out there can relate. She says, when I was caring for my mother while she went through cancer treatment, and later when she entered hospice, I struggled each day, all day. The realization that there was an expiration date for our time together weighed heavily on her mind. Um, so I know that you definitely could relate to that. Um, Did you, from what I just read from her thing, did you pretty much feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely did. I had two relatives die within basically 10 days of each other.
Hmm.
So mentally, um, whew, just thinking about it now, mentally, I was going through it,
Hmm.
man. Um, just trying to hold it together, meaning work, meaning family, meaning, other responsibilities. So I can definitely relate to that. And thank you, Sabrina, for, volunteering that information to share with us. But I don't know, for me, it was just one of those things of you have to accept life for what it is. We all have our own expiration date, as they say. Um, so for me, that was the only thing that helped me through that particular situation.
Hmm.
It's just one of those things where you're never quite strong enough to handle it all, but you just keep pushing. That's the only
Right.
thing I know to do,
Hmm.
um, especially when it's close family members. It's okay. Well, I'm not saying it's okay, but when you're dealing with someone, halfway across the world or something like that, and you don't see them that often or even speak to them that often, it hits you differently. But when it's someone, that you speak to often or,
Hmm.
you come in contact with often, it hits you differently.
Right.
Um, but yeah, mentally, it'll take you through a world, man. It'll take you through a world.
Hmm. Yeah. You know, I have probably numbed myself to an extent to death. Um, Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that it doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
I just mentally prepared myself that I'm going to lose somebody. Um, Somebody I know, somebody, a child is going to die that I don't know, um, a family member, a close friend, or something. Um, you know, Somebody I know may lose somebody.
Right.
Um, and when it comes to death, I know a lot of people are not just they're just not ready for it, and it's
No.
understandable. because like you, like Sabrina, y'all, you're close to that your mother or that family member, and I guess somewhere in our minds, even though we know that we're going to lose that person, we have it in our minds that that person's going to be there forever.
Right.
um and when that time comes, like, it's like, I wish I would have had another day. I wish I would have spent more time. I wish I would have called. I wish I would have did this. I wish we were closer. I wish we would have made amends with whatever falling out that we had. And
Right.
a lot of people beat themselves up about that. And being that, as with our culture, we're not always, I want to say, not always taught to deal with that healthy in a healthy manner or constructively. You know, it's a little harder for a lot of us.
That it is. Um, I don't know, man. It's one of those things of being around situations, that I've talked about in previous podcasts, about being around violence at such an early age and
Hmm.
crazy situations at an early age. All of that plays, a role in your life when you get older, how you see things.
Hmm.
Um, again, it's to me, it's kind of like a battleground. You know what I mean? It's like some things you see, you easily let go, and then other things they impact you, like you've been hit, in the back with a sledgehammer
Hmm.
or in the chest with a sledgehammer. So,
Right.
um, nevertheless, any case that you come across in your life is it's like a learning experience, you
Yeah,
know,
it is.
and it's one of those things. Unfortunately, the more it happens, the more you kind of adapt to it, but it still leaves an impact on you.
Hmm.
I don't give a damn how good some people are with death, but at the end of the day, you'll find yourself thinking about a particular situation or, things that have impacted you mentally.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. What, and on top of talking about the stigmas that prevents people from speaking out, I speak openly about me being sexually abused as a child. Um, and it was always something that plagued me for the longest time. Um, it has, I will be honest with you, it has made me, in my younger years, it had made me feel like I don't want to be here no more. Why did that happen to me? Why am I hated? Why doesn't anybody love me? It's had me uh acting out in several ways. Nothing to the point that would get me any type of legal trouble
Right.
or anything like that. But I've acted out in ways that was detrimental to my well being. Um, and in our culture, especially with men, specifically with men,
Okay.
outside of being in our culture, it's certain things like that where it's like, nah, man, you can't tell nobody that because they're gonna look at you like you soft. Somebody might look at you and be like, oh, he been handled before. Well, shit, maybe he's an easy target. For a man, that eats at a man's mind. It makes him feel less than a man. It makes him feel unwanted. It makes him feel uh like it's so many things that go with that um, men suppress, that it's unhealthy.
Right.
It'll cause you to act out irresponsibly sexually. And the the people on the outside who see certain men or even women who act out sexually, like that, oh, that joker's a hoe, or she a hoe, she a slut, or all they did. And it's like, you never know what has brought that person to that behavior. You just do not know.
Nope.
Um, I sought counseling, um, and that helped me speak that out. Um, and and the first time that I really started to speak about it, I started writing. When I started writing my seriously writing poetry, I wrote about that.
Mm.
Um, I got to the point where I was able to perform that poetry out in person. In fact, the first time I wrote a poem about that and presented to the public, I put it on YouTube. My face is not in it because I didn't want my face in it.
Right.
Um, because I was still ashamed, even though I was kind of over it.
Hmm.
But it got to the point where I started going to open mics and I would recite that poetry out for the public to consume. And although in the back of my head, I'm like, God damn, I can't do this shit. Why am I doing this shit? They gonna look at me like I'm fucking crazy. And to my uh, um, uh, amazement, I had other men thank you for doing that. I've been through that before. And it lifted a bigger weight up off my shoulders because that further let me know that I wasn't the only one who went through that. And that's another thing that, you know, all of us go through if we're victims of sexual abuse.
Right.
Especially, I can't say especially men, but every person of sexual abuse, although we know this happens to people, other people, when it happens to us, we think it only happened to us and that, it didn't happen to anyone else. Or if it happened to anyone else, we think we got it worse than somebody else.
Yeah, that is true. And the sad part about that is so many times we take those situations and we're told don't tell anybody, or if you
Yes.
tell anybody you're going to get in trouble, or you're going to be taken away from your parents, or whatever the case may be. And
Hmm.
that's really the person who's committing that type of injustice against you.
Hmm.
Their mental state is totally twisted.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So um and not taking the blame off of them, or trying to help lighten the burden on them, but in some cases those persons were molested.
Abused in some kind
So
of way.
yeah, so they continue that cycle.
Hmm.
um but we can move on to the next one. I don't want
Yeah.
to.
But I just yeah, I wanted to add one more thing on that before we moved on,
All right.
to what you were saying, um, because it was several times when it happened to me, like before, during, and after the fact. It was
Mhm.
like, you better not tell nobody or I'm gonna beat you. You better do it good or I'm gonna tell on you. Um, and it's like, what kind of mind fuck game is that? You gonna tell on me if I don't do it good and you doing something bad to me?
Yeah,
It's like when you get through that, you get past that, and you look back at it, you like, that was some wild shit for that person to have done that to me and said that to me. And the sad thing is, these if this has happened to that person in the past, it's sad that, well, not, it's unfortunate that they can not say from their heart that I would never put anybody through that. Because me being through that, I would never ever put anyone through that type of mental, physical, and emotional trauma. That is catastrophic to somebody's core.
it is. It definitely is. um I know several people who have gone through that situation, and you know, by the grace of the Creator, they are still here and they are functioning
Hmm.
greatly. But how many times have we heard the term "going postal"?
Yeah, going postal. Um, going postal is you going postal is a mild way of saying that joker crazy.
Yes.
Um, and it's interesting that um that is downplayed like that. Because it's one of those things to where it's like that situation being swept up under the rug.
Yeah.
Um, and that generally comes from the post office.
Yep. Um, I make light of that
Hmm.
term, but I can tell you from experience, there have been several times I've been on my job and I've had coworkers who, have gone through their experience like, you know what, you might not want to go to work that day.
Oh wow!
Like seriously. And I've been at work thinking to myself, I am scared as fuck right now.
Right.
Because I had a situation where I had a coworker, where they basically pushed him out.
Wow.
Um, because one of those situations where the man did his job,
Hmm.
but he didn't want to go along with the clique, as they say.
Mm.
So they basically came up with a plan to get this man removed. And the man used to be a heavy drinker. He had not stopped drinking, but
Hmm.
because of so much pressure was being placed on him at work, he had returned to drinking.
Mm.
Uh, Not as bad as it was before, but he returned to it. Um, and me and him were cool. I never had any problems with him. In fact, he was one of them cats who was real straight up, and I could admire that by anybody. If he can do it, he can do it. If he can't, he can't. Meaning, if he can help you. But anyway, I remember they forced this man out. Um, Him, calling me and explaining to me what's going on, and I'm, talking to him like, man, if I were you, I would go see a lawyer. There has to be some type of repercussions behind what they did to you.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, to make a long story short, the way they fired him, which was like on a Thursday, and I went to work that Friday, and I found out they fired him that Thursday, and
Mm.
I'm up here on my job sweating like I'm deep off in a damn sauna. You know what I'm saying? Like I've
Hmm.
been in that bitch for like 3 hours or so. But anyway, everybody was just expecting him to pull up and go berserk.
Wow.
I mean, really, his mental state was just that frivolous.
Mm.
But thank goodness he didn't. But
Right.
there are situations I've been in where kind of nervous, kind of looking at the front door, checking the exits.
Hmm.
Which direction am I going to run in if something break off?
Mm.
But um, and again, not laughing at anyone who's been in a situation like that. I'm again just going off of my own personal experiences of feeling like, where am I going to hide if this person comes to this job with their guns, and we all know they carry guns.
Right. Right. Yeah, man. That. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So this avoidance affects not only the individual, but it places the community at risk when the illness goes untreated, undiagnosed, and unreported. Uh, yeah. So situations like you were just explaining. Um, if there is that fear of this person coming back and retaliating or whatever the case may be, because you just don't know, that person may have stormed out, or you know you just get a vibe or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You can't leave that unreported. you know we've come to a place in our society to where it's like, that ain't my business. But that one time where you could say it ain't my business, this person may come back to the job and light that joke up. Also, a person has to take that responsibility of whatever's troubling them. Go get treatment. Speak to someone who is qualified to help you deal with that situation. Um, and if you go, when you go, which you should go see someone.
Hmm.
Another problem that a lot of people have, and I have to say, especially in our culture, and especially as men, we don't like to be forthcoming with what is really going on. And that goes into that other part of something being undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or underdiagnosed. Why? Because we don't want to be vulnerable as a society, as men, as black men. And, we have to get over that hump because it's holding not only the person back, but it's holding that family back. It's holding that job back. It's holding a lot of things back, and that affects a lot of people. So, again, it can't go untreated. It can't go underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or whatever case may be, and it cannot go unreported. Um, that person may not be a danger to the general public or the workplace. They can be a danger to themselves. So, you know, this stuff has to be reported.
Oh, definitely. What's up, Benjamin? Good to see you, bro.
Yes, good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. Thanks for
Um,
joining.
yeah, I think that you have to report or at least discuss, certain situations with individuals when you see them stressed and you see them going through it, as they say. Um, but a lot of times, like you said, that we as men we don't want to expose ourselves because it makes us look vulnerable. It
Mm-hmm.
makes us look like we're weak or we're helpless or whatever the case may be. Um, there are certain situations where men take their frustrations out on their families.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into the specifics, but we know that it happens,
Right.
and it's sad because there are so many resources out here where men and women
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you want to call yourself, you can get help.
Yeah.
There is help out here. But again, the stigma with us, again as men is we don't want to go through that motion of having someone look at us differently.
Mm-hmm.
We want to stay in that light or that position
Right.
of, our power or whatever it is that we think that we hold. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to move off of that pedestal.
Right. Yeah.
But mentally, and I say this again on other platforms, that I personally have gone and through counseling because of some of the things that happened to me as a child,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the best freaking things I ever did because it really took the load off of me
Mm-hmm.
that I was carrying around thinking that the things that happened to me was my fault. Like,
Right.
no, it's not your fault. Not your
Mm-hmm.
fault at all. But until I went and sought out the help that I needed, um, I'm like I said, I couldn't be happier that I did that. I
Right.
took the initiative. I hadn't reached a place in my life where I was finding myself being more destructive in my personal relationships than what was necessary. And it's like it all led back to my damn childhood and the things that I faced.
Right.
So, and I say this and I share this, like you do, because I want people who have mental issues, for lack of a better term, or mental situations to realize what you're going through, you can overcome it. You
Yeah.
can beat it. You can learn to deal with the things that happen to you, but you got to take it upon yourself to get the necessary help.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So to get back to the survey, I want to throw this question out there for both of us to answer.
All right.
And for our listeners to answer, um, what do you find are the best coping methods when you're having a rough time? Now, again, Sabrina answered this. She says her coping mechanism for when she was dealing with the situation with her mother was allow herself to cry, even if it was just alone in the car. That was her release. Holding feelings in made her angry. She had to understand that this was not in her control, and the best she could do was be there for her mother to act as her voice when she could no longer speak for herself. Um, yeah. So when you're dealing with whatever situation that like really throws you off, what are your coping methods?
Uh, for me, because I'm the type of person who don't mind my own company,
Hmm.
I probably take it to a different level. Meaning, I deliberately avoid people,
Hmm.
um, and that's no reflecting against them or saying anything bad against the people who are around me in my circle. But they all know me that I'm the type that when I find myself in difficult situations, I retreat.
Hmm.
Me, myself, and I are the only people there.
Right.
So that's one way I'll do it. Another way is, I'm kind of like Sabrina. If it comes to it, I will cry. I
Hmm.
will just let it out because it needs to come out of me. It
Hmm.
can't stay in that space with me. But when I do that, I'm usually by myself. I'll be honest with
Right.
you. Exercise, I use that as one route. Some things I may discuss with my wife. Some things I may discuss with my father.
Hmm.
Um, some things I might discuss with my sister. But I can't say in any recent years that I've come to a place where I just need to talk to a professional.
Hmm.
Um, thank goodness. It's just that I've learned to cope with high stressful situations in my personal life.
Right.
Um, but again, that's just me. And again, I would encourage anyone who's going through a lot. It's okay to seek out help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yourself.
Um, man, I'm going to say over the span of my life of uh when I reflect on how I've coped with having a rough time. When I was younger, it was through sex. Um, when it was as I've gotten older, it was less from sex. And I will fully admit, I used to use alcohol. I never abused alcohol,
Um,
but I would drink. I would get tipsy. Um, uh, there were few situations where I drank to specifically get drunk because I was dealing with something. But outside of that, yeah, I did drink to mellow myself out. But you know when I thought about it, it's like this shit ain't doing shit for me because when I get sober, that shit's still gonna be there.
right,
Um, and that's one of the main reasons I don't drink as much as I used to, especially if I feel like I'm going through something.
right,
Um, then I got to the point where I would write to get through stuff. And I can honestly say sometimes that has been some of my best writing is when I'm dealing with something, you know, whether it's traumatic or it just pisses me off or, I'm just in one of those moods, I would fall back and write. Um, I am a person who will withdraw. Um, I've done that so many times, and and the funny thing about a person withdrawing, they think something is wrong with you to the point is like, well, damn, why you don't want to be with nobody, and they take offense to it
yeah,
um, because they say, I'm here for you no matter what. And it's like, I thank you for that gesture, but sometimes I just need to fall back and be with me. I need to reflect on that myself. I need to work through that on my mind. Or maybe I just need to check the fuck out.
right,
And it's okay to do that. But people seriously get offended by that. And it's like, sometimes, like I can honestly say, when I fuck up and it's something that stresses me out with another person, I'll withdraw. And it's like, I don't want to talk about it, because it's like, the mental anguish, even if I fucked up or I didn't fuck up, the mental
Right.
anguish is so heavy. It's just like, I just want to get my little bubble and just go sit in the corner. Um, Sometimes I'll go smoke a cigar. I'll sometimes play games on my phone, or you know, I have been able to develop a lot more responsible ways of coping with things that I'm going through. Um, you know, and like you said, if you're going through some, it's nothing wrong with seeking help. Um, and I will say the first time that I went to see a counselor, I was actually going there to just fucking joking around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I sat down in that chair and that young lady started asking me questions, and I was answering them seriously, but I wasn't taking the moment seriously.
Right.
And as I answered more and more and more questions, it chipped that hard exterior off of me, and it
Mm-hmm.
made me. I was already a sensitive person, not weak, sensitive, but it
Right.
made me more sensitive to what was going on inside of me, and eventually, you know, it made me more sensitive to other people in certain situations. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I'll say another couple of things that I did that actually helped me. I'm a nature person.
Hmm.
That's my name, Sun Solex. So a lot of times when I'm going through something, I just go for long walks through the woods, man. Uh,
Hmm.
thank goodness I have a whole lot of trails by my house, but um, I'm either riding my bike,
Hmm.
I'm going on nature trails, or when I had a motorcycle, I get on my damn motorcycle and just blast out, son. Like
Hmm.
I would be gone for hours, and it seemed like riding my motorcycle was one of the best things I had, one of the best tools I had to help me just not think about anything, just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and driving is another thing I'll do. You know, I had a situation where something very dramatic happened in my life, and this is when I was living in Alabama. I just got in my car and I drove.
Hmm.
Next thing I know, I was in damn Georgia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I drove all the way to the place where I spent part of my childhood.
Hmm.
But anyway, just driving, that was one of the things that helped me get through that particular situation in time. So
Right.
again, these are just ideas I hope can help someone who may need
Yeah.
that right now.
One thing that I can say as a coping method, and I know we're getting off topic, but um, another coping method that a lot of people may not think is a coping method is something that we used to do as kids, and that's go fly a damn kite.
Yes.
Um, you know,
Yes.
go fly a kite um, has been turned into a disparaging term. you know, Somebody say something silly, say, go fly a kite. But I'm literally like, go fly a kite. Like the energy and the mental energy that it takes to put a kite up in the air, it redirects that negative energy outside of your body. It gives you a fulfilling feeling. Um, and it's like, wow, look at this kite up there. Like it's relatively cheap. It's harmless. All you need is open space. That's all you need. You out there in fresh air, you got sunlight, you in nature. You may, if you're in the right place, interact with people who will get into a conversation with you about flying a damn kite, and you might get you a new friend.
True that. Miss Sabrina says crafting is an outlet as well. True
It
that.
is. It is. And the funny thing about it is, I got buttery fingers. I've often wanted to try that, but it's like, I don't think that's for me. I don't think and I say I don't have the patience for that, but I had the patience to sit there and writing takes a lot of energy, mental energy to do, to get your thoughts out of your head and on paper.
Yeah, definitely. Crafting is a place of coming from creativity.
Oh yeah.
So that's definitely a good way to go.
Yeah.
But getting back on topic here. Um, so these workers avoid the stigma of mental illness or stress to maintain job security.
Oh, we went through that already.
Okay.
Yeah, we went through that section.
All right. So where you at?
The shooter in Edgewood.
Oh, okay. I'll let you take that one.
Um, So, wait, before we go on, Stephanie says drawing and painting. Yeah.
Yeah. Another creative space.
I'm laughing because I was taking an art class and, I was chatting back and forth with Stephanie. I was like, I can't do this shit. I just can't do this shit. Like, yo, I told her I had to draw some damn shoes, and let me tell you, it was causing me stress, mental stress. And I want to shake her ass up because, like, I guess it was like 30 minutes later, she's gonna text me a damn picture of some shoes that she just drew. I'm like, how the fuck you do that? but she was like, hey, you can do it, you can do it. And as I progress through it, I see how that is a coping method for a lot of people. It's a really good coping method. If you take it seriously.
Yeah.
And get really get into it. But yeah, getting back to the shooter in Edgewood. So if you live in this area, back in I guess that was 2017. So this guy, he was working at this granite place, not too far from my house, probably like 5 minutes from my house.
Mhm.
Um, he got fired from the job um, about a year prior. Then one day he happened to come to the job and shoot the joint up. He killed and injured a couple of people. Um, Before the police got there, he made his way back to Delaware. Matter of fact, I don't remember if it was before or after, but he also had shot some people in Delaware. Um, and it's a situation where he it was a toxic work environment.
Mhm.
Targeted people that he worked with. Retaliation and stuff like that. And when the news was reporting on the story, they asked his neighbors like he was withdrawn from society. Um, Situations like that have happened all too often in these past several years with these shooting incidents. Um, but yeah, that's what happened out here in Edgewood.
I mean, with situations like that, again, like I said before, you just never know what people are going through.
Yeah.
Um, so when you find someone, being targeted, I don't know if this gentleman was targeted, at his workplace or not. But the thing of it is, what are you gaining out of taking someone else's life? What are you gaining?
Right.
There's nothing to gain by taking someone else's life. You get into a fist fight, when we were kids, when we got into fist fights, we did our thing. At the end of the fight, you won this one or you won this day.
Mm-hmm.
We may revisit it in the future.
Two, three more times.
Exactly. um, often at times when you done fighting somebody, you guys become friends, and I've
Yeah.
had that happen. But uh, again, the point that I'm making here is you can gain nothing from taking it from that level or
Hmm.
to that level of taking someone else's life because you're pissed.
Yeah. Um, I wish that we could have gotten a professional in this field to join into this discussion with us because um, I would love to get their perspective on this because I sit back now and I just wonder, where did that come from? Like, what made that so quote unquote normal? You going through something, and like you may be going through something on your own, and you decide that you want to take it out on 5, 10 people who have absolutely nothing to do with what you're going through. Um, and again, it's happened far too many times. And what bugs me about it is, these people in certain positions, they want to blame the gun and not the person. Um, but again, yeah, we don't know what the person is going through. But for us, it's like, what in that person's mind made them click and want to harm innocent people that have nothing to do with that situation? It's mind blowing.
It is. It is. I mean, if and it's happened so many times here in this country where we get those stories in the news where um, again people are coming back, whether it be at schools or jobs or whatever the case may be. Um, there are certain instances where people have disagreements at clubs or in clubs, and the next thing you know, somebody's going to their trunk, as they say here in the South.
Hmm.
Um, and again, things go to a whole nother level. So what I'm really saying here is you really gotta watch who toes you step on, or how
Yeah.
you approach some people, because they may seem rational, they may seem normal, or they may seem to be in a stable place mentally, but you just never know. So again, just gotta watch that.
Yeah. Man. Um, you know, when it comes to these shootings and stuff like that, what part of it angers me the most is when it becomes racial. Um, and it seems like it's celebrated when, let's just say, the person is Caucasian and they shoot black people. Um, it's kind of like celebrated to a degree. And it's like, well, maybe this person has a mental illness. And, whatever their mental illness is targeting this group of people. Um, and it's like, I just don't know. It's troubling that people are doing that more often. They and this happens with breakups. It happens with being fired from your job. Uh, it happens when people get reckless with gambling and stuff like that. And um, I just wonder if this person knowingly had underlying issues, or they didn't know, or if somebody else observed them having underlying issues, or whatever, and either that person didn't do anything about it, or the people around them didn't say anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad that certain situations, like you're saying, it is a racial situation. Um, Me, I think that anyone who has mental issues, I don't give a dang what color you are, um, you need help.
Right.
So again, I can't even fathom wasting my time, trying to retaliate against someone because they're a different hue or complexion than
Hmm.
me. We weren't raised like that.
Right.
But for the people who do carry that type of content in their hearts, or in their spirit, for other people like that,
Hmm.
you may need to seek some help, because you, in my personal opinion, got some serious issues, and I'll leave it at that. But
You you know what's troubling to me even more when it comes to situations like this, when people are taking other people's lives, and whatever case may be, when it's black on black crimes.
mhm,
um I often wonder if there is a mental health component to that, that drives our people to take out our people. What do they, what mentally, what do they get out of that? Do they, are they uh you know provoked to do it? Is this something that was inherently in them, like, to get into that lifestyle? Like, what, I just wonder what the mental process is for somebody to even go and do something like that. Because to me, you know the preservation of people, especially people who look like you, or just your neighbor, I think that should be almost at the top of your priorities in life. And to see people have so much hate in them, and I'm talking about from our communities, to do that,
right.
it's really troubling. And I just wonder if there is a mental health aspect to that.
I think there is, man. I mean, let's just be honest about it. With all of the news that we see, as far as, like, black on black crime and young men shooting, in these neighborhoods and killing innocent people, or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's repeatedly on the news, and again, not saying that that's the cause of it, but it kind of does play into the role of how we sometimes see each other. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So, and the crazy part about that is, I've known several, carbonated beings that they feel like, I'm the biggest, baddest in the hood. But then once you see a damn police car roll by with someone who doesn't, yeah, you gone. Wait a minute. So how are you the hardest?
Right.
You the Black Rambo, but you see, them boys in blue.
Soon as an authority figure comes through that can shut you down, you in the wind.
Yeah. So that alone to me is a mental illness, because you up here think that, okay, the next man that looks like me, if he want it, he can get it. However,
Mm.
I'm willing to die for mine, or whatever craziness they may say. But again, when someone looks different than you roll by, and they got this little shiny little badge on their chest and shit, you quiet them damn church mouse.
Man,
How did that make sense?
it's crazy. That is crazy. And again, I wonder about the mental health aspect of that, because you know like, where does that come from? Like, how did that come about in your life? What happened to you in your upbringing, or what was it that attracted you to that aspect of life? um you know I would hate to say that it's the news. I would hate to say that it's the music. I would hate to say that it's TV, movies. I would hate to say that it's video games. I would hate to say all of those things. I would hope that that is not a causing factor for this to be happening in our society. Um, I grew up listening to violent music, watching violent movies, TV shows, video games, seeing violence in the house. all type of stuff that I've watched, experienced, and been through. And for me, it's like I have no desire to behave in that manner. And I've had these conversations with other people, and it's like, oh well, because you're stronger than other people. And it's like, I'm no stronger than the next person. It's just that the way I view life.
Right.
Um, and for those people out here who are killing other people, or committing suicide, or whatever the case may be, again, I'm not speaking from a professional standpoint, but I just wonder how their brain is wired, because let's just say one of their family members gets killed or something. That doesn't sit right with them, but for them, it's okay to take someone else's life.
It's it's amazing. Um, I will say this: a lot of people are under the impression that you are a product of your environment,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the craziest thing ever. To me, it is because I've watched so many people that look like me become way more successful in life than some of those who've had a silver spoon in their mouth all their
Yeah,
life. So using that as a crutch to say that you can't achieve or you won't achieve or you have to be like this because you were raised in this environment, I just think that's a bunch of hoopla.
yeah,
Um, Again, to me, it's a choice, like you were
yeah. It
saying.
is a choice.
But anyway, again, we're not claiming to be experts. We're just talking about our own personal experiences, and we hope anyone listening or watching this podcast can reflect on their own personal experience. And if you feel you need help, get help.
Yeah. We're gonna shut this conversation down, but we have a lot more to dive into uh with this topic. So um if you have any input on this topic, that you want to share with us, email us, kingani369 at gmail.com. If you go to the Facebook page, the survey is still up. So if you want to fill out that survey, we're still accepting responses for that. And we're going to revisit this. Not sure if we're going to come back live with it, but if enough people, give us the input and say they want us to come back live with this because they want to provide input or whatever the case may be live, then we'll do that. If not, we'll probably just have it pre-recorded, and you can follow it on whatever podcast platform that you subscribe to. But with that being said, thank you for joining the King and I Live podcast as we discuss the stigma of mental health today. Um, Again, hit us up on whatever podcast platform you subscribe to, and we're gonna run through this again. Like, subscribe, and share on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. What I forget?
I think you covered them all. I think you got them all. I was going through it with you mentally, so I think you got them all. Hats off.
But yeah, whatever podcast platform that you subscribe to, subscribe. Whatever social media platform that you're on, look us up, hashtag, or whatever the case may be. Me, Soul Touch of the Poet, and my man.
Sounds so Lex. And again, you guys can find us on Amazon. Amazon. We on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we are. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out.
Have a good night, everyone.